Welcome to Hashtag After Dark. We're doing a new series for the next few weeks here, 12 weeks roughly, depending on my schedule, where we're going to start introducing everybody to each one of our cast members individually. We decided tonight was going to be Justin. We decided.
Yeah.
I really should say that the group decided that it was going to be you.
And it was one of those cases where it was I wasn't in the room, and I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess me. Sure,
you
why
got
not?
fed to the lion. So what
I
this
did.
is we're pretty much going to, we know that you guys know us, but we want you to really know us. At least I want you to really know us. So I'm going to be conducting these one-on-one interviews with each cast member throughout the next coming weeks here on that Hashtag show. And tonight, Justin Quizon.
What's up?
So, Justin, first and foremost, I want to start with, where were you born?
I was born in, Southern California.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Cerritos area.
Southern California guy. You know, we can go through all this backstory stuff, but the real thing that people want to care about is what are your biggest fandoms?
My biggest fandoms are superheroes.
Really?
Yeah, in general. I just love the superhero genre.
Why?
To me, it's the best thing about superhero genre for me is it's the aspirational element. This, the people who are superheroes are the best in terms of intentions, and in terms of abilities, and in terms of even looks to a certain degree. And I loved stories about just good overcoming evil, and I've been obsessed with it since as far as I can remember.
So a lot of people want to know certain things about you, and you can do that using the super chat feature. Matthew Thompson's here in the studio or at the Comic Plug in Manhattan Beach with us. One of the questions he has for you, by using that super chat feature, if you're not here in person, by the way, is you just hit that button, that little S button, helps support the show. However, his question to you is, what fandoms do you hate?
I don't really. There's not a lot I really don't hate, honestly. It's just I can understand. There's just some that I never got into. I know typical stereotypical answers sports. Just never got into sports. Wrestling is one where I feel it's a blind spot for me.
Blind spot.
Yeah, I feel I can like it, but it wasn't just a thing I was into.
That's interesting because superheroes played such a big part into that.
Oh, totally.
So it's interesting that you wouldn't like it. Now, I got a question for you. Were you ever bullied when you were younger for your love of some of the geekdoms that you like?
I played the don't call attention to yourself game a lot in school, so I didn't really get picked on for my fandom or my geekiness, which I'm kind of shocked by when I think about it. I was a small kid, in school, and so I figured someone was gonna do that eventually. I didn't know. Just surprisingly, I never got bullied for that. I got bullied, but never for that.
Did you, when you started getting into the business side of this, you have a few podcasts.
Yeah.
How did you get into the podcasting side?
I kind of addressed this a little bit when we did our After Dark last week on PCR, but when I heard about podcasting, it was from my friend Nathan, who I do one of my shows with, and he's the one who told me about Kevin Smith's podcast. And I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know what podcasts really were, but he gave me the whole 8 discs of Kevin Smith podcasts, and then I listened to them all, and I got, oh, that's kind of cool. Just talk about what interests you and etc. And I got into podcasting because I like talking about this stuff a lot, and people seem to be interested when I talk about this stuff to them. So eventually I just figured okay, well, might as well record it and see if anyone finds it interesting.
I see that you have a big eye for the entertainment industry.
Uh-huh.
And did that start at a young age? Because correct me if I'm wrong, you're somewhat of a actor in the Philippines. Is this true?
No, I'm not an actor in the Philippines.
You're a superstar, right?
No,
you're
not even No, you're exploding that in directions that doesn't exist.
Well, what's the claim to fame? I always hear about this. You were in a movie there, right?
I kind of was, yeah. I'll clarify that.
Chat me up about the situation in which your stardom started in the Philippines.
Okay, so basically in the Philippines, my family in the Philippines is actually fairly famous, and my uncle is named Dolphy Quizon, and if you're Filipino, and I think some of the people who watch our shows they will probably just freaked out right now.
Freaked out when you first heard it.
Yeah, so he He was. I've always pointed out that he was like the Jerry Lewis of the Philippines. You know, like he started in film, and he started as like kind of like a comedy actor in film that just kept doing it.
If you had to, so if you had to compare him to an American actor, you said Jerry Lewis.
Jerry Lewis for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, a guy who like like famous
Physical
for
comedy.
physical comedy, who eventually became a filmmaker in his own right, eventually started his own studio, and kept doing it up until the day he passed away in like 2012.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So he was a legit superstar.
He was a legit superstar. Agreed. Yeah, and like his children and and our relatives, like if they were there, they became either actors or performers, and it was a legacy of entertainers in the
Is that
Philippines.
what first opened your eyes up to the entertainment industry?
Yeah, I did get a glimmer of it, and I was in one of his things when I was a kid. Like I did get like an experience of being in one of his movies because they needed a kid in one of his films, and they just looked at me and went, "I'll have Justin do it."
So that's an interesting transition. So how did you transition into superheroes from that kind of background though?
Like superheroes was always there for me, right? It's like I was always really into watching superhero cartoons or movies or TV shows and etc. But like the film stuff, the Hollywood stuff, or not Hollywood, entertainment industry stuff in my family, that was always there. Like when I went to the Philippines for the first time, I was 5.
Wow.
And I got to see my uncle.
So it wasn't anything new to you.
It kind of wasn't. I saw my uncle perform on stage and my aunts perform on stage, and I was there to see like tapings and filming over there. But also I was there hanging out with my cousins, playing with like toys and etc. So it was kind of like this weird. I was normal to it. But I also understood, not everyone's relative is like this. So
that's interesting. So, what's your earliest memories of going to conventions?
My very first convention was Comic-Con.
San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah.
So you started out the big dog.
I did.
How long ago?
96.
Holy crap! So we're talking before Comic-Con became like a thing.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the difference of what it was then to what it is now.
The crowds. To me, it was so much smaller and more intimate back in 96, and to me, I didn't know how to handle it because, my cousin was the one who got me into comics, and he basically told me that, when he went to Comic-Con one year, I didn't know what he was talking about, and he's like, "Oh, Comic-Con, it's basically a giant comic book store," and I went, "What do you mean, like a giant comic book store?"
We got a picture of young Justin up here at Comic-Con, by the way.
This was 2008. That's 10 years ago.
That's great.
Yeah.
So. I got a question for you, which I actually don't think I've ever asked you about ever in life. What's your feeling on cosplay?
I've always thought it was cool. I've always liked seeing costumes, but realizing there's a whole, really appreciating the real art of it. Just seeing how much I have so many friends who are cosplayers and how much work they put into it, and it's sculpting, it's sewing, it's math to a certain degree because they have to kind of figure it out for each other's for their own personal body. And I think it's always I'm always appreciative of cosplay. It's I like taking pictures with cosplayers at cons. It's kind of like doing a Disneyland thing for me,
Now, you obviously the people that are watching here that know who you are, they know that you're on our Henshin Hangout show.
Yeah.
How did you get into the Tokusatsu stuff?
That's part of the weird Filipino side of me where I feel like it's always
Is that a big thing in the Philippines?
Yeah,
Really?
It's huge in the Philippines. The Tojo one I was in the Philippines. I was 5 years old. The first toy that I got there, I didn't know what he was, but I knew I liked him. He was this cool. He looked like a robot guy, and he had he was red. I didn't know that he was the Red Ranger of a Super Sentai show from 1986 called Flashman. And I just knew I liked this guy. Oh, and there's 4 other ones a different color, but I knew red. I didn't even know he was the leader. I just knew I liked that red one. So when I found out Sentai, that's the thing with Sentai, I'm oh, I want to know more of that. And when my cousin got me into Comic-Con or got me into comics, he came home with a bootleg video of a movie called Kamen Rider Zeto. And I'm what is this? And already I'm knee deep into Power Rangers. And he's it's Power Rangers, but better.
Wow.
And I'm that's a thing. And I watched the movie and went, it's Power Rangers, but better.
So we were talking about your uncle a second ago, and Dream to Aspire says, what? Shout out Filipino represent. Very cool. He's related, basically a comedic legend in Filipino film. Very cool. See, it does shock a lot of people that don't know that.
Yeah, I've already seen that happen.
So you obviously have a rich history into Kamen Rider and into Super Sentai.
Yeah.
You've also done work at the Improv.
I was. Oh sh. Kinda. No, I was from 2008 to 2011. I was in a sketch comedy. I was a writer, producer, director for a sketch comedy show.
How'd that go?
We were doing pretty well. It was almost an all Asian cast, and like we won like a couple awards at like the iOS and yeah, like and we performed at the Improv and we won a couple awards there. It was really cool, and yeah, it was like a case where it's like we were competing against other local talent, and we won like 2 to 3.
I'm going to take this conversation to a little bit more of a serious tone. Obviously, right now, number one at the box office, Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah.
And Asians in pop culture, not just pop culture, but geek pop culture,
Yeah.
have had a little bit of a struggle through times. Obviously, there's been success stories like Jim Lee. However, talk to me about some of the struggles you may have faced as an Asian American, Filipino American, in the geek and entertainment world that you think that are kind of opening doors up now.
I think always the issue comes with preconception of, what kind of stories people think will be marketable, and example right now, this is a great segue for me to talk about the feature film I'm an associate producer on called Lumpia with a Vengeance. And that's a movie with an entire, almost, writer crew, the whole staff, and the cast is like Filipino Americans. And we want to make a movie that is entertaining but is just very much steeped in Filipino American culture.
Sure.
And like the struggle with getting that film made is people just still not sure of its marketability, if there's an audience for that. And like it's part of me is almost kind of sitting there going like, I hear things like, oh, like some people don't know if like the Filipino culture will break through in a movie like that. And I go like, yeah, but like look at like My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Like that informed a lot of people. Or Coco. Yeah. Those are entertaining films that did really well. Like that Big Fat Greek Wedding blew up.
Sure.
And like it informed people of that kind of of that culture, Greek American culture.
Now you've met other Asian celebrity actors in the past, Louis Tan being one of them.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Also Yoshi's the Suraso brothers.
You know what? Briefly, I met Yoshi at during a WonderCon as just simply, hey, you're in Dino Charge. Can I take a photo with you?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So now that we're in more of a diverse world that we live in,
right?
Where do you think Asian Americans kind of stand now, especially in geek culture?
I think there's this thing I'm seeing on Twitter right now called like hashtag like August Asian, I think, where it's like there's so many.
Well, if you're seeing it now, this is September, so I think
it's near the end. Hold on, it was started in August though, and it's like Crazy Rich Asians came out. To All the Boys I Loved, and Netflix popped up. Searching with John Cho.
Searching is great.
I heard. I'm going to hopefully check it out this weekend. And what was that?
88 Rising.
88 Rising.
It's Rich Brian and a bunch of like other Asians who learned how to speak English on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
The band, and now their album came out. It actually came out at #1.
That's anyone get that? That's good though. Thank you. No, okay. Dan had brought up a really good one. So no. So I think right now, like the key thing was that like Crazy Rich Asians did really well. And it's now #1 3 weeks in a row. Searching sounds like it's going to do well.
Hopefully will be #1. I think Searching's great.
Yeah, and I'm hoping Searching does as good, if not better, than Crazy Rich Asians. So then that will now lead into like, okay, there's no more like BS about saying, oh, there's no Asian American actors who will become celebrities or big stars. Like, not true. Just put them in a movie that people want to see them in.
Now we're going to talk about the things that most of you tuned in for. Hopefully, most of you don't know this is going to happen until right now.
Probably.
But this is the stuff that most of you are going to be able to relate with. Let's talk about your backstory here at Hashtag Show.
Yeah.
How did you get recruited into this band of misfits?
JD,
the producer, the guy that looks like the Filipino Santa Claus.
Correct. Snorlax looking.
So how did you meet him?
I met him through a mutual friend. He was a brother of someone else I knew, and
Anthony,
yep.
Okay.
And here's the funny thing. I think I just remember, I didn't know that JD did stuff with you guys. And I didn't really get to know you guys. And I didn't really hear about like Hashtag Show until I started seeing JD at shows, filming. And then I see you like getting ready to interview somebody, and like I actually remember very briefly talking to you.
WonderCon or something, right?
WonderCon. One was
yeah.
my first like probably one-on-one where I mentioned I liked RPM, and you were like, "That's a good year," you know. Like why? It's a good year, RPM. But like I just remember whenever I go to conventions, I knew I was guaranteed to see you guys, and I was always like chat up with JD. And I remember Japan World Hero,
Yeah.
which was last year. He was like, "Hey, dude, we're starting up a Kamen Rider talk for our sister channel. Do you want to be on it?" And I kind of was like, "I'm free. Like I can make." I assumed, truth be told, I can say this now. I thought I was a guest and I was just gonna do the one app.
I thought you were a guest and you were just doing the one-off too.
Yeah.
So let me ask you about Pop Culture Renegades. A lot of people that know us know what that is. That's kind of where you got your start.
Yeah.
When you started with that group, talk to me about the chemistry you guys had. Talk to me about some of the dislikes, the likes. Get real candid. Get real deep. Spill some tea.
It was a learning curve for me because I've had years of podcasting, but then now I knew I had to deal with the fact there's a camera in front of me now, so I couldn't just like do this for the whole show.
Do you even still think that like doesn't it become second nature at this point that it's even there?
The fact that I've been doing it I'm like you've been doing it way more than me, but I feel like I've been doing it for a year, and once in a while I'll be like, oh yeah, there's a camera.
Yeah.
Or I'll be looking at the monitor and, oh right, that's getting me, But that was a learning curve for me, and like I knew I had to be somewhat entertaining. I just can't sit here and be like, yeah, it's gonna be really, that'll be fine.
That was my big note to JD because I remember he was on the show with you when you guys started.
Very first step, yeah.
And I kept telling him, hey man, bring up the energy, give me the energy, and I think he wanted to.
Yeah.
But I think he just couldn't come out of his shell to do it.
Yeah, and I assumed like, maybe because like he knew me. And he could talk to me about it, like that stuff about it. But I actually was rewatching some of that first episode for the first time. I haven't seen it since we aired it. Yeah, I totally cringed.
Do you?
I super cringed. But I hate watching myself, period. I never watch any of the shows.
Even now?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No. But like I was watching that and I'm going, oh wow, I can still see I was not sure how to do this. Daryl was also in that first episode, and Daryl like helped with helped with kind of like me figuring how to talk on the show because Daryl Delphin. Yeah, Daryl Delphin, and so like he at least helped me. I can see like I was going off of him a lot. Or I went, okay, he's this energetic, or he's leading the conversation, so I'll follow through. And no, that was, and then Jimmy from Angel Girl Radio was our other host from the original show, and it's funny again. Like I know that Jimmy got more comfortable on episodes I wasn't there, but I'm seeing me and Jimmy being like. Kind of holding back.
I feel like you were brought in more for the expert role, and then I think we had Paula to the group at a point.
And Luis. Do you remember Luis?
Very briefly.
Luis was a very short term. Yeah.
Super brief.
Yeah.
That all of you guys had this show going, and I think behind the scenes, me and a few of the other producers realized that man, we're getting so many new influx of people. Now we're gonna have to split evenly, and I don't know if you remember this. But there was a point where we got both of the cast, and I think it was like 30 people at the time. Yeah, okay. And we almost like did a draft of who was going where.
Oh, wow.
And it was supposed to be a hard brand split. And I know a lot of people don't know this. Did you know anything about this?
I heard a bit about this. Yeah.
So, and then you ended up being, I don't remember which, I want to say that you ended up on the PCR side for the Henshin show mainly.
Right.
And then we started getting, I think, Jimmy dropped. Paula wanted to only come on as a guest.
Right.
Luis dropped. And then we realized, well, we're going to trim the fat and just kind of merge that group into this group.
Right.
And then we had like 26 people on one show.
Yeah.
Or on one channel.
Yeah.
And when that happened, did it feel any different from you going from PCR to Hashtag Show? Or was it just like, hey, it's the same thing?
It was the same thing with the exception of who my hosts were. You know what I mean? So it's like I gotten really used to like talking to Jimmy and Darrow and even Luis on a regular basis, and to the point where like I was becoming friends with them. Like we would do the show, then we would hang out afterwards. To the point where once both it was just me. I'm like sitting there like who am I doing the show with? And briefly we got Paula, and I knew that Paula's schedule wouldn't allow her to be a regular host, but after I'm like, okay, so who's it gonna be? And am I gonna be like fine without the safety net of Daryl and Jimmy and Louise. So I was honestly a little nervous about it for a
Were you
check.
really?
I was, yeah. It's like are they gonna know I suck without the other three guys I'm comfortable with?
That's real interesting.
Yeah.
But then right away you ended up getting Jezzer in.
Yeah, we got Jezzer, and then
you got Johnny.
And we got Johnny. Yeah.
And then when did you know that was the team that was going to groove?
I think what was interesting for me was because like Jezzer and Johnny had to like do a crash course.
Really? Yeah, they did.
On Kamen Rider
So
build.
the way that worked out, by the way, is that you were the informational brain of the show, and it was Jezzer was kind of like the new guy, and Johnny was like just starting to get into the fandom, but was like involved into the Ranger Sentai fandom.
Yeah.
So it was quite an interesting dynamic between the three of you.
Yeah, no, and I feel like because it's for me it's three different energies, right? Like the fact that we don't talk the same, we have different experiences of jumping in. Like I kind of did feel like okay, no, we're grooving. They're liking the show. This is gonna be fine, you know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's when you knew that it was going to click.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Out of any other shows that we do on Hashtag Show, what is another show that you would want to be on?
If schedule was better, I would love to do Infinity Watchtower because I'm a big. I've only shown like the Sentai Kamen Rider Ranger side of me, and to the point I realized that like you guys don't know I'm into the other stuff too. Like Jezzer actually messaged me.
They're trying to get you on for this week.
They're trying to get me on for this week, and scheduling I can't make it. But Jezzer was like, "Do you read DC or Marvel comics?" And I laughed to myself. And I'm like, "Dude."
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I'm good.
You said that wrestling's your weak spot. Where do you fall into the video game realm? Because a lot of these folks play video games. Where are you with that?
I should probably be real honest. That is my weakest spot.
Me too.
You too?
Yeah.
I know. I always tell people like I respect video games. The art of video games are great. The stories I've heard about video games are cool. I am not a video gamer, and I try. But I always feel like I think the problem for me is like I was a late comer every generation, and I never got into each game. Like I got like a Super Nintendo like the year before it became like the N64. I got the PlayStation 1, and then 2.
That's when they all went on sale.
Yeah, exactly. Because like my mom and my family were like, "No, don't get it up now. Oh, it's cheaper now. Get it." And then now I'm like, "Oh, but the new thing came out." So I'm always behind. I'm like, okay, I'm just never gonna get into video games.
That's interesting about Infinity Watchtower, which I didn't know before. Who's a Hashtag Show cast member that you haven't worked with that you'd want to?
Wow, I've worked with a few already. Okay, so I've
Wait a minute. Also, you did the PCR special, what was it? The Altered Carbon special.
I did do the Altered Carbon
Sarah,
special.
right?
With Josh and Sarah. I did the last episode of the Altered Carbon for PCR. Yeah. That was actually that was fun too. Yeah.
That was when PCR was just on its last legs of the new transitional
period.
Yeah. Who's the cast member that you'd want to work with that you haven't gotten?
Let's see here. Of the ones I've met and I've done, there's a bunch I haven't met or even worked with. So
we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, but I will say, you know what? Like, two people I can think of top of my head. One is Corey.
Oh, you've never done a show with Corey.
And I just met Corey, but like during Morphicon. But I honestly,
we met at the meeting when we had that big.
Then the meeting there, yeah, you're right. But like Morphicon's where I got to like actually talk to him, and like he's got such a kind of like funny energy that
he's a pretty talented voice actor.
No, I know, which totally makes sense. So during Morphicon, I'll just riff with him while we're just like waiting, and I'll make jokes with him, and I'm like, oh, this guy's pretty cool. And so I would love to do a show with Corey, but ironically he's the video game guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to move Corey into different spots. He was just on Infinity Watchtower last week. Mm-hmm. But we're trying to move him around and trying to see what works. Because now a lot of people don't know this. We've summed our cast down to 13 people.
Yeah.
And those 13 people are the people that you're going to see for the next 12 weeks, hopefully, and myself. So that would make 13, obviously.
Right.
So Corey would be your choice. All right, so we're going to play a little game. Ready? Mm-hmm. We're going to play word association.
Okay.
Now, just to let you guys know, a lot of our cast members, I don't want to say a lot, some of our cast members haven't met everyone else.
Yeah.
Mainly because there's never been a time or a place where we've all been in the same room together. We've all been on the same call together.
Yeah.
We've just never all been in the same room together. And the closest we did get was Morphicon. The only two that were missing were Sarah and Maverick.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're gonna play a game now. Word association, and this has to be very candid.
Okay. All right.
So as real as it gets, we're gonna play this. Ready?
Okay. All right.
We're gonna start with Johnny since he's not here.
One word.
That could be a sentence or a phrase. Or...
Johnny. Okay. Johnny. I feel like fellow creator because he's another writer. Another comic book
writer.
Another man. He's a guy who also writes. He creates his own stuff, and I like self-publishes. And I've read his work. Like, I don't know if you remember this, but like we had dinner, and like I was just like small talking with Johnny for the first time. Like, hey man, what comics do you do? He's like, oh, I do this, like I forgot the name right now, but he gave me the website. I'm like, sure, looked it up, and then I freaked out. I'm like, oh my god, I bought your comic like a year ago. He's like, what? At Long Beach. I went by your booth and I went, hey, that looks cool, and I bought it. And so no, I love Johnny's work. I read his new one, Death's a Bitch, and it's really good. So no, fellow creator. Yeah.
Blackwing says you guys gotta have one big THS party. We did. It was called Andrew Grove Prom.
Yeah.
Second person I'm gonna say is I'm gonna go with Jessica. You spent some time with
Briefly.
her.
Yeah. Jessica was cool. Like that's the first time I met her.
Yeah.
I've never like spoken to her or been in the same room with her till more forgotten.
Different shooting schedules for most people.
Yeah. She was pretty cool. Yeah.
Just pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
That's your.
I didn't have like a long talk with her. Like, how's your day? And blah, blah, blah. I just like, hey, cool. You're really cool to talk to. And I held out. Actually, I'll give you one goofy moment that happened to me during MorphCon that she witnessed. So I was handing out the wristbands for VIPs, right? Check and see if they were VIPs, what have. And then I caught my buddy walk into the room. And we're big dorks, so we're like, we make eye contact, and then we're both like, hey! Jessica starts laughing, and she's like, that is freaking adorable, you two. So like, well, I'm hoping that's my impression on her when she laughed.
Let's go Migdalia.
Okay. Let's see here, Migdalia, very, very, very cool. I've only really.
That was very hesitant, by the way.
Well, because I wasn't sure, like.
Reading body language now.
Well, because, like, I've only really had brief talks with Migdalia, but she's done a lot of stuff with people I know. Like, with the folks at Ready, Set, Geek, etc. And so, like, no, what brief times I've talked to her and said hi to her, she seems always really cool to me. Yeah.
Kelly?
I don't think I've ever met Kelly.
She was at Morphicon.
Was she at Morphicon? Have I met where?
Astronomer. She was JD's prom day.
Oh my god, I'm blanking out. Sorry, Kelly. Oh my god, I'm an a-hole.
There's a picture with all of us in the Megazord together.
Oh my god, I blanked out. This is what I was super jerk right now because I just realized I bumped into her like a couple of weeks ago, like at my regular food truck and like my food truck meetup I go to.
Oh, did you really?
I did, and then I was like, hey. So now I'm a real asshole because I forgot right now and said that. So I'm sorry, Kelly. You can kill me later. And she's like from Orange County too, right?
From Orange County.
I'm a real jerk. Sorry about that.
That's your story.
For Kelly? No, she's pretty cool. Yeah. Kelly's cool. Kelly's cool. Yeah.
Okay, so that's 4 down.
That's 4. Okay.
Row.
I like a lot of people.
I like that it starts with that laugh. Because
let me point something out. Like I always feel like I realize I'm gonna say I like them. They're nice. Shit. That's why I'm hesitating. Like, this is boring as shit. I gotta make this interesting. You know what? Ro, I admire, because especially after we did the last After Dark, his approach to to the same kind of stuff I do, which is like podcasting and live stream, is so different from mine. And he brought up a lot about like I came in to do this to make money, and I sat there and went, oh, I never thought of it like that. Because for me, it's like if I came in to do this to make money, I don't think I would have be living in a house or have a car. Really? No, because I've never made any profit off of the stuff I do. All the stuff I do is for fun or I guess art for me. So like making money, of course I want to make money doing this, but it's I don't know how to handle that I don't know how to handle the business side to do that. So I just make the stuff that I like, and I hope other people like it. But his approach to that is so not my mentality. But I'm sitting there going like, I wish I had it, but I don't. But that's cool that he does.
It's just a different mindset, a different kind of person. Right?
Yeah.
It's that kind of person that has that business mindset 24/7. Let's talk about Sarah. Chat me up about Sarah. You did a show with her.
I did a show with her for Alta Carbon, and I feel like the one real moment we butted heads was over Last Jedi, which is what everyone else is butting heads
That
over.
shouldn't be a surprise. And to hear that you butted heads with Sarah also shouldn't be a surprise. I feel like that's going to be a general theme that I'm going to hear with a lot of people when we do these.
But other than that, like I got along with her really well with that episode. And mostly, funny enough, is like I mostly like communicated with her through like, hey, like I think she used to be doing the call sheets for a brief period.
Yeah.
So like that was the majority. Like I can't make it that day. Cool. That was the most of the conversation I had with her up until the Ultra Carpet nap.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about Maverick, because you have never met Maverick.
Never met Maverick.
We've never been in the same room.
Nope.
She's very elusive. Actually, she's here quite often. Or not often, but she's here more than Sarah. But she's here. Any opinions? Have you've seen her? You know that you've seen her. So what are your opinions there?
I mean, like I think I've only honestly, because there was a period where y'all kept talking about Maverick, and I realized like I don't think I even know who Maverick looks like. So I just looked up like on YouTube like Maverick #show, and the first one I watched was like, well, that's appropriate. I watched the Top Gun coverage. Sure. I'm like, all right, that makes sense. And then I think I saw like her Morphicon coverage from 2016. Which then I had like a memory unlock where I'm like, I remember seeing her there because I saw her interview and then I saw the #show logo on the mic, and I went, oh, so I guess Joe doesn't do everything.
And that's a funny story in there, actually. So in that 2016, I had Maverick come in and do those interviews, and now, a lot of the Rangers at the current time thought she was one of the Rangers from the movie, because the movie was going to come out the next year. Like everybody, Blake Foster, Steve Cardenas, they all thought she was one of the new Rangers. Maverick's here often enough now. I see her, talk to her all the time. All right, so let's talk about some of the people that are here. What about Jezzer here, behind the boards?
Cookie Face.
Cookie Face. We call him little JD now.
He flipped you off. It's very Jezzer. I love Jezzer. Jezzer is like I always remember like Jezzer like lifting Josh. Like doing like what were you like treating him like a dumbbell? That's a word I've used appropriately.
He was squatting. Wait. Was he squatting Josh?
He was. I have video footproof of that. So that's like one of my early memories of Jezzer. Yeah. And no, I love doing the show with him too. You know, Jezzer on the show. It's fine. Just pretend I'm not here. I know, but it's hard. But Jezzer on the show is interesting to me because he's pretty low key on our show.
Yeah.
You know, and like
I would say, and that's not just a criticism on Jezzer on your show. I feel like that's something that I've heard also in our superhero show as well. The Infinity Watchtower is that it's crazy because a lot of people know this Cookie Face character more than they actually know like Jezzer. But the Cookie Face character, you've seen it. You've seen it come out. It's like not a story, right? It's a real thing.
Yeah.
The little JD where he just consumes everything. And it's crazy to me. It's crazy.
I just remember the quick video of like I think Jezzer was filming something for WonderCon and he just yelled at somebody.
Oh man, I wish we could. Were you there?
I didn't see that, but I saw that clip and I was like busting up on that.
Man, he's the Tasmanian devil in real life.
That's a very good description of Jezzer. Yes, I can see that.
Now, what about me? Pretend I'm not here.
Yeah, well, now I'm pretending Jezzer's here. Joe puts a lot of effort. No, Joe, I think
I really just tell people what to do.
Yeah, no. You know what? If I can tell you something, like when I did the first Ranger wrap up, I was a little intimidated.
Why?
Because everyone I know, like from what I can tell, like you're by far you're the face for a lot of people.
I appreciate that. I think that Jessica's probably the face.
Well, but especially because even before I was ever a thought of joining the group, I was watching your RPM interviews at like conventions and such because I love that show, and so I was like a little intimidated, like, oh, I'm gonna be on the show with Joe, and I was a little like, okay, I hope I can catch up.
But now it's pretty easy.
Now it's pretty easy. Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What about Elle?
Yeah, Elle's cool, and
like legit real life Pokemon Go player.
Hardcore.
She wears a watch that goes off when Pokemon are around.
I remember like one of my first talks about her with terms of Pokemon Go is that she had an extra battery to keep her phone charging because she's playing Pokemon Go all the time. I went, are you playing it right now as we're talking? Which I think she was, and no, I got a chance to really talk to her a lot more during MorphiCon, and we had a lot of fun with that show. So no, again, very cool.
Daniel.
Oh, Daniel. Daniel, who's not in the room. Daniel, again, I like the energy that Daniel always brings, and I think the thing I appreciate the most about Daniel is I was surprised one day to find out Daniel's listened to my podcast. Like, he literally has told me, like, oh, I love what you do on the Nothing New and the research you guys done, and my brain went, pfft, none of my friends told me they listened to that show. So I think again, I always appreciate that, and Daniel's like a big booster of the stuff I've done, so I really appreciate that.
And I know that there's one last person that I'm missing. And I'm going over 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, no, one more.
Yeah, I don't know who I'm missing.
Who? Joe.
Corey.
I already talked about Corey.
We didn't do Corey.
Well, I guess technically speaking, I didn't talk about him in this round.
Sure.
But I did talk about if there's a host I feel like I could have. I did talk about like a host I think I could do a fun show with is Corey. Yeah, I think what I said earlier is like I got to really talk to him during MorphiCon, and like I think he's a funny guy, and we riffed a lot during that show, in my opinion. I don't know if he thinks that way, but I had a lot of fun with talking to him and making jokes with him. So, yeah, I think Corey's the end. And I don't think anybody in the show is bad. I like a lot of these people, so...
He didn't say everyone, though. He said a lot of them. Here's a fun question.
What? And then you nitpick a little bit.
Actually, guys, I know that you guys are throwing out some of these names. This is the current cast that I'm talking about right now. This is the people that are going to be here week to week. Every single week. I'm not talking about the past. I'm living in the present right now. The 13 of us are the ones that you're going to see week to week, at least for the next quarter.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you another question. I think this is going to be a little bit of a hot topic.
Okay.
It's going to be a little bit controversial.
Okay.
But you're going to have to answer it anyway.
Oh, boy. All right.
Sometimes in the chat, we have trolls. Okay?
Okay.
Who is the most annoying person you see week to week in the chat?
There was, you know what? Like, recently, no one really sticks out with me. But there was a guy when we did Henshin Hangout, when it was like the earlier AM shows. Don't remember his name right now. But there was this one guy. He was always, I think he was the equivalent of the but guy. You know? Okay. It's like, actually, that's not what. That's actually the name of this character was. And I'm sitting around like, dude, I have to memorize all these things, and I gotta catch up to the conversation. I can't nail it every time, These are, and also it's Japanese names, so I'm probably gonna say the pronunciation is gonna go out the window sometimes if I'm learning the show.
No, I have to deal with that all the time because in the retro wrap-ups,
yeah,
we have to reference a lot of the old Sentai.
Yeah.
And every single time I have to say a Japanese name, I either don't say it, or I always think in my head, damn it, I wish Justin or Johnny were here to do it instead of me.
Oh no, when Lupin Ranger vs. Pat Ranger started, and we still do it to this day, it's such a nerdy thing to be annoyed by. But in the show, the Lupin Rangers refer to themselves as color. The Pat Rangers refer to themselves by number. But even to this day, we will still go Pat Red, Pat Green, Pat Pink. But in the show, it's Pat Ichigo, Pat Nigo, Pat Sango. But
Sango, yeah, it is.
But it's hard. It's hard to always remember that every time, especially when you're trying to get the conversation going and keeping the flow going.
Now, with what we do on the show here,
yeah.
Where do you eventually want to go with your career? 'Cause a lot of people don't know this. What do you actually do? Besides this show.
Yeah, besides the show. I went to film school back in 2007. So the goal was to make movies. Be a writer, director, like 90 billion other people in this town. And so yeah, the goal was to write and direct my own stuff. So that's the plan. And I hope to hopefully I will get to fulfill that goal and make a feature film that is written and directed by me.
Well, you're on your way to doing that. Mm-hmm. Now we're gonna play another fun game. You ready?
Sure.
Oh, I asked you who was the biggest troll. Which fan do you really like the most? Even though one of them's sitting in the room right now. Present company excluded.
You know what? Like Blackwing and Lila have been like
or Layla.
Layla,
Either
yeah,
way.
or have been like. I also like if I always feel bad about that. Layla is that like I'm never sure if I say your name right. So, but know that like she like they always like what I post and they always like respond back to me very quickly. So they are like some of the more like kind of positive people I've met in terms of who's communicated with me.
Another hard-hitting question.
Mm-hmm.
Who is Moomin Rider in your opinion? You've been struck by the infamous Moomin Rider.
No, actually I haven't.
Oh, you haven't?
I haven't been struck by the Moomin Rider.
You haven't been struck by the Moomin Rider?
No.
Okay.
He's just that guy in One Punch Man, right?
Well, I guess we're going to have to skip that question. Now, all right, so you ready for some hard hitters here?
Oh, God. Okay. Yeah.
So I'm going to do my best James Lipton.
All right.
Ready?
All right, go. Yeah.
What is your favorite word?
It's not that, Jesser. It's not that. Oh, wait, hold on. It's pronounced Layla, Justin, and you're okay. Thanks. My favorite word, action.
Action.
Not just because of director thing. I just like the word.
What is your least favorite word?
Moist.
We got it in there. That's what she said. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Creatively, spiritually, or emotionally. You know what? It's going back to the superhero. Why I love superhero stories is just people doing stories of people doing the right thing.
So you'd be a Jedi, a hero at heart.
I hope.
What turns you off?
Moist.
Fair answer. What is your favorite curse word?
I'm classic. Fuck.
Classic. What sound or noise do you love? Really?
No.
Oh.
Some ASMR. Sound or noise that I love. Wow. Huh. Sizzling? Like food cooking?
Food sizzling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What? Let's see. What sound or noise do you hate?
Creaking.
Creaking?
Oh, you know what? I take that back. Actually, I know exactly what it is. My day job, I work in a receiving department at a store. So the sound I hate now is the sound of a freight truck parking.
Really?
It's like, psh. Even if I'm not at my job and I'm just like out and about and I hear
like
that,
PTSD?
yeah, I'm like, oh, that means I have to work.
Really?
Yeah, so I hate that sound now.
There used to be sounds that triggered me like that. Not anymore.
Like what?
Sirens.
Sirens?
I
Why?
was always getting in trouble. I'm just
Oh shit!
kidding. No, there was sound. I don't know, but there were definitely sounds that used to trigger me like that. But I can't recall what they are. Like, I really don't know.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so what profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Besides the filmmaking stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Honestly, I've thought about getting into the food industry as a chef at some point.
Really? Can
yeah.
you cook?
I can cook. Yeah.
Favorite dish?
Favorite
Favorite cuisine? Favorite type of cuisine?
You know what? I love making breakfast food.
I love eating breakfast food.
Awesome. Good. I like making omelets and such shit.
eating
So
omelets.
there we go. Awesome. There's a plan. Then we got to plan this.
All right, so what profession would you not like to do?
I might be good at that. You don't know, Jezzer.
Hey, fun story about Jess. You guys want to hear a story? Give me a
Please.
super chat about the time that he wanted to be a stripper. Yeah, that's a real story. That's a real story, guys.
The guy who mops up after the strip club. That's a pretty...
It's also a fair answer. Now,
Yeah.
when if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates? Hey, man, can you just wait till when we do your interview? Jeez.
What ain't nice thing said about Jezzer, we can take it back. It's gonna get real. It's gonna get really real. Okay, ready? Your dad and uncle are proud of you.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's
Yeah.
a good one. And I think that's a good place to kind of wrap this up. Justin, I got another question actually before we go. That's a good
Yeah.
answer. A lot of people that want to get into this, I mean, they obviously want to know us for a reason. They obviously tune into your show, Henshin Hangout, for a reason. If there's one thing that they didn't know about you that you want them to know, what would that be?
Wow. That's a good question. Shoot. This is wow. You do this for a living, so you're pretty good at this. Dang. I guess that.
I mean, you're very knowledgeable about film.
Yeah.
More so than most people I know.
For me, I guess it's what they did know about me. If they only watched the writer stuff and the ranger stuff, I guess for me it's like kind of really knowing that like I kind of like fiction in general. Like, so like I talk about that a lot because it's it's the popular topic. That's why I'm brought on. But I love I love just I can watch something from like the big Hollywood action adventure stuff, and then I want to get back to something a little more grounded and a little more character driven, or even artsy sometimes. And so I absorb fiction consistently, and it's kind of one of the things I'm really like obsessed with. And so I love the superhero stuff because I feel like that speaks to me and it inspires me. But then I love also like just reading about people's point of views, even if it's someone I don't agree with, and I want to see. And that's why I love about fiction, and it's like getting everyone's point of views, and I want to see it and understand why everyone does what they does, even if I think that person's a jerk.
Like that debate we just had about cilantro.
That was a fascinating one.
I got another question for you. So, what's your most embarrassing moment?
Most embarrassing moment. I'll tell you one. It was in junior high, and I realized I was singing a Third Eye Blind song out loud in a bus. It was a
Is it like, I don't want to be?
Yeah. Oh, were you there? That was it. And I didn't realize it was like late at night, and we were driving. And
I hope you're going to karaoke with us.
And I just started singing it, and I didn't realize it because all of a sudden I heard my teacher go, "Who's doing that?" And then everyone's head turned, and I'm like, I'm just gonna sink, right? I'm just gonna. Okay, cool.
All right, so actually, some of the fans had questions for you, so we're gonna take these on one by one.
Shoot. Okay.
We're gonna start with Layla. Favorite pre-Ranger Sentai season?
Jetman, but Live Man's getting real close.
Keep your questions coming in. We're gonna rapid fire these. Jay Boss, how did you get into Toku? You kind of explained it a little bit.
Yeah, but I think honestly, it's osmosis because Filipino folks really love Toku, so I think it was bound to happen.
Toku Kid says, do you see heroes as something to aspire to, or to set as a standard to live as?
I think aspire to, honestly. The set your standards is kind of harder to achieve, but I think like if you're always hoping to be better, to do better, I think it's how I like to see heroes as.
How did hashtag show change your life since you started being on the show?
Apparently more people know about me now, and that's still wild to me. So thank you for that.
Did Jezer give you a pep talk like I told him to before Morphicon?
No. Wait, I don't think so. Why? What was the?
Well, I just told him that like people were going to approach you and just to be kind of like ready for it.
You actually told me that.
I did tell you that.
Man, you told me personally.
Everybody that,
yeah.
But he didn't do that. At 2:00 in the morning when I was driving back and you were barely. Yes, that's it. Anyways, Matthew Thompson says favorite DC or Marvel heroes.
DC. You know what? I'm a big Kyle Rayner Green Lantern guy.
Me too.
And
so is Peter Sidarso.
Is he? Nice. I knew I liked him. And then favorite Marvel hero, Spider-Man.
Favorite Sentai purchase. That comes from Anna Miles.
Ooh. Do you mean like toy?
I'm assuming she means any Sentai. Yeah, toy.
Let's go with toy. Merchandise. I'm very happy to have my Mo Byron from Gokaiger. So.
Gokaiger seems to be one of your favorite ones. Now, Toku says, how was PMC different for you being a member of that hashtag show?
I had to work. You were gracious enough to give me like a day to, hey man, just enjoy one of these days, which I'm super grateful for. But no, that first day I was like, and I was super happy to like whatever you need me to do. I've worked conventions before, so I just went into like my convention mode and went, all right, cool, we're selling this, we're selling that, make sure we push this, I can do that.
Are you helping Joe with writing of Cosmic Protectors?
I will have some involvement, but not the writing half.
You might.
If you want,
there's a lot of episodes.
That's fair enough, but I know I can say I've got a guaranteed involvement in one way. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely do. J Boss says favorite Power Ranger season. Actually,
RPM.
You know what? I'll say this, Justin.
Yeah.
After going back and watching Zeo, it's very hard for me not to say Zio was my favorite, but then I just saw Space and I was like, dude, Space is so good.
You know what? Like RPM now, because I'll say this: RPM as a guy who's still watching Power Rangers in his 30s. When I was growing up, I loved Zio, and I'm revisiting Zio now, and I still think it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. Favorite Sentai slogan?
Oh, I'll just go easy. Hani ikuze, which is from Gokaiger. So,
What does that mean?
Well, it depends on which translation you're going with. So, if you're going, I'll just say, let's make a show of it. Yeah, I'm an overtime guy, not a TVN guy. So,
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for the questions. Hopefully, you got to learn more about Justin. He also. Oh, let's talk about before we go. I didn't mention your webcomic. How did you get into that?
that makes sense to me because like around 3 years into really diving into my Tokusatsu stuff and getting steeped into Tokusatsu fandom again, me and my friend Victor Perfecto, who is like the one who's basically like my drug dealer, he's given me all the shows and
actually your drug dealer.
And literally my drug dealer. And so he's literally, we've been watching all these shows together, and he's an artist and a very good writer in his own right. And so one day I told him we should just make one up. Because whenever we saw like Tokusatsu themed or inspired characters in American comics, I always felt they never got it right. Something was off. Something didn't quite nail it. And something was like, you kind of got it, but it's too Western. And so we wanted to do something that was definitely like, it was an episode you saw from Japan that felt like a Japanese show, but it's in a comic book. And it's basically a mixture. It's funny because I realized like I keep pitching the comic on our shows. I never really pitched what the comic was.
Yeah.
So it's basically if Kamen Rider, Ultraman, Supergirl, Spider-Man all like amalgamated into one show, into one comic book. And it's a legacy story. It's of the new current version of the Shining Yusha armor, and the original one was from the It looked like a version of the 70s, and the resurrected bad guys from his past are coming back, and she now has to fight him with the knowledge of what he did in the past, and that's So, but she's got the spunk and the energy of a teenager and the hopefulness of a teenager. So there we go.
How did you create that?
It was actually based on, I took an old comic idea when I was 15. That was the idea of like a daughter who becomes a superhero, but she's like raised by like my two dads. One is like an alien who like gave her the abilities. The other one is like her father who was like a scientist. And I thought that would be a weird, interesting dynamic of a teenage daughter, learning how to, be a superhero, but one of her parents is like this bizarre alien man, and the other one is her father, who's like mostly one of her father her father is like a scientist who is not very good at being sociable to other people. And it was more at the time I thought it was gonna be more like a Marvel DC thing, and then as I wanted to do something that was a little more Toku inspired, I looked at that and went, oh, there it is, I'll just make it more Tokusatsu themed.
Do you have a favorite, or do you watch My Hero Academia? And if so, who's your favorite hero?
I just started, and so I finished season 1, and I love it. And besides Deku, I think the Frog Girl is amazing.
J Boss, Kamen Rider, favorite Kamen Rider opening?
Here's some truth. I'm not a big fan of I think Decade as a show, for me personally, is a little messy. I love that opening theme song, and I love the opening credits. So I love the Kamen Rider Decade opening. Forze is very close to.
Now that's going to do it for us, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Justin, where can everyone find you on social media? You do this all the time. You should know this by heart.
I know. And I think you guys like doing this to me every time because it's a really long list.
I think you have the longest.
I do. Who's your Sentai? I'll do one more because Layla wanted me. Who's your Sentai waifu? Luca from Gokaiger.
Who's your hashtag waifu?
So you can find me on Instagram. It's Johnny. There, I said it. You can find me on Instagram at Justin Quiz, Twitter at Justin Quizon. Toku Kid, I didn't watch Digimon. Sorry, so I don't have a favorite. Go find my podcast, Ben View on Spielberg.
But if you didn't watch it, why?
And if you didn't watch it, why? Shoot, you caught me there. I was too old for it. Sorry, just like that's an age gap for me. It's like wasn't really into it. Okay, so yeah, Threw me off, Tokugate. Okay, so find me on Instagram at Justin Quiz, Twitter Justin Quizon, and you can find my podcast, Benfield and Spielberg, and Nothing New, a remake podcast on Apple Podcasts. My third show, Morning Word, we're figuring out the iTunes, Apple Podcasting. And find Shining Yusha for free on Tumblr.
Great. So, and you can also find him every Saturday on Henshin Hangout with his cast members, Johnny and Jezzer. Next week, I'm not sure if Johnny's here, but I think it's you and Jezzer.
It's going to be me and Jezzer for sure, yeah.
But, guys, thank you guys so much for watching.
Thank you.
Now, we're going to do something interesting with these After Darks. Now, I'm going to put a list of the remaining cast members in THS hashtaggers. You guys are going to vote. The person, I'm going to try to attempt to get on the show. If I can't get them, then it'll be a progression of who I can get. I'll put the remaining 11 people up, and you guys will be able to vote there. But thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, this was fun.
Thank you for opening up, and we're hoping to do this again and have more fun. Thanks, guys, for watching. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Stay up to date with everything trending and geek pop culture, and hopefully you learned a little bit more about Justin this week. Thanks, guys.
Yay.